What made your deployment veteran refuse to talk about their experiences? My uncle Russell came back from Iraq in 2008. 22 years old, 2 tours, came home different. Wouldn't talk about anything that happened over there. Family dinners got awkward fast. Someone would ask about his deployment and Russell would just stare at his plate, change the subject, get up and leave the room. My dad thought he had PTSD. Mom worried he'd seen something horrible. Everyone walked on eggshells around him for months. I was 16 at the time, didn't really understand what combat did to people, just knew my uncle wasn't the same guy who'd left 2 years earlier. One night, Russell was staying over at our house. Couldn't sleep, came downstairs around 2 in the morning, found me playing video games in the living room. What are you playing? He asked. Some military shooter game. Felt weird playing it in front of him. I offered to turn it off. Nah, it's fine, he said, sitting down next to me. Just a game. We sat there in silence for a while, him watching me play, me trying not to feel uncomfortable. Finally, I asked the question everyone wanted to know. Uncle Russell, why won't you talk about Iraq? Expected him to shut down like usual. Instead, he laughed. Not a happy laugh. More like he'd been waiting for someone to ask directly. You want to know why I don't talk about it? I nodded. Because nothing interesting happened. I didn't understand. What do you mean? You were in combat. You did 2 tours. Russell leaned back on the couch. Yeah, I did. You know what I did over there? I guarded a fuel depot for 18 months. That was my entire deployment. He explained it all. His unit was assigned to protect a logistics base. No firefights, no dramatic rescues, just standing guard duty at a fence line 12 hours a day. The most exciting thing that happened was when a wild dog got into the compound. We spent 3 hours trying to catch it. I felt confused. But everyone thinks you saw combat, that you went through something traumatic. I know, he said, and that's the problem. Everyone back home thinks deployment means constant danger, heroic battles, life or death situations. Russell had been a fuel truck driver, drove convoys between bases. Most dangerous part was the boredom and the heat. One time our convoy got delayed because a truck broke down. We sat on the side of the road for 6 hours waiting for a tow. That's it. That's my war story. He told me about the other guys in his unit. Most of them had similar experiences. Guard duty, maintenance work, processing paperwork in air-conditioned offices. Don't get me wrong, some units saw real combat, nasty stuff, but most of us, we were just doing jobs. Boring, regular jobs that happened to be in Iraq. The problem started when he came home. Everyone treated him like a combat hero. Thanked him for his service with this reverent tone. Asked what it was like to fight for his country. How do I tell them I spent most of my time playing cards in a guard shack? That my biggest complaint was the Wi-Fi was terrible? Russell felt like a fraud. Everyone assumed he'd been through hell. He didn't want to disappoint them by admitting his deployment was mostly mundane. Your dad thinks I have PTSD. Your mom thinks I can't talk about the horrors I witnessed. Truth is, I'm just embarrassed. He'd tried telling people once. At a welcome home party, someone asked about his experiences. Russell mentioned the fuel depot guard duty. The guy looked confused. But you were in combat, right? You must have some real stories. Russell felt the pressure to perform, to give people the war story they wanted. So he stopped talking about it entirely. It's easier to stay quiet than to explain that war isn't what people see in movies. That most of it is just waiting around being hot and bored. I asked if he felt bad about not seeing combat. Sometimes, he admitted, like I didn't earn the veteran status. Then I remember the guys who did see action. The ones who came back messed up. And I feel lucky. Russell pulled out his phone, showed me photos from Iraq, him and his buddies goofing around, playing basketball on a makeshift court, posing with that wild dog they finally caught. This is my war. Not dramatic, not traumatic, just regular people doing boring work in an uncomfortable place. We talked for another hour. He told me stories about the food, the heat, the weird British soldiers they worked with who had better snacks, normal stuff, the kind of stories anyone would tell about a weird job they once had. Next family dinner, someone asked Russell about Iraq again. This time he didn't leave the room. I guarded a fuel depot, drove trucks, played a lot of cards. That's about it. My aunt looked disappointed. She'd been expecting something more dramatic. That's all? Nothing exciting happened? Russell smiled. Nope, and I'm grateful for that every single day. People started asking him real questions after that. What was the food like? Did he make friends? What did he do for fun? Turns out everyone was more interested in the boring human details than they thought. They'd just been afraid to ask. Last month, Russell spoke at a high school career day. Bunch of kids asked about joining the military. He told them the truth. Most of military service is boring. Long hours, tedious work, waiting around. If you're hoping for constant action, you'll be disappointed. One kid raised his hand. Then why'd you do it? Russell thought for a moment. Because someone has to guard the fuel depot. Someone has to drive the trucks. All the boring jobs that keep everything running. The kid looked confused. Probably expected a speech about honor and courage. Here's what I learned. There's no shame in having a boring deployment. The guys who saw combat, they sacrificed something heavy. Me, I just did my job and came home safe. That kid ended up joining the army 3 years later. Became a supply clerk. Sends Russell emails from his desk job in Germany. You were right. This is boring, but somebody's gotta do it. Russell still doesn't talk much about his deployment, but now it's because there's honestly not much to tell, and he's finally okay with that.